Greetings, beloved, and welcome to the Gloria Omnia podcast. Once again, episode number two. So I'm riffing on this one. It's been a busy week. Wait a minute. Sorry. I love that. Anyway, it's been a busy week for me. There's been an ice storm in the state that I live. There's a ton of people without power, and I'm a person that works on such things. Sorry. And so I'm kind of riffing. I have prepared this in a way, but it's not like I wrote it down. I got a nice, solid, structured outline, that kind of thing. And I want to get one of these out. And I had some interesting things happen over the last couple of weeks. So I would just want to kind of riff on a word that I was playing around with. So one of the things that I got a couple of friends, that me and them, we started trying to avoid certain expletives. I know I was going to keep away from like heavy jargon in these podcasts. I'm going to throw that one out there. You can go up and look it up if you want. Let's just say expletives are naughty words. So, and we're trying to get away from using those naughty words. And I was looking for substitutes, let's say. So substitutes for naughty language. And that got me not only involved in that, but it was because, excuse me, itching my nose. It got me into wanting to expand my language. I kind of realized getting into it more and more, not only does, obviously, I talk about developing the mind, heart, and the will. I want to develop my mind better. I have a little more time right now. I'm working on these podcasts. So, let's get the expletives more under control, maybe find great substitutes and really develop my language more fully. And the more I thought about it, the more it was kind of interesting, because I talk to AI in order to work with these podcasts and kind of just deal with my thoughts and move forward with my thinking. And so I brought this concept to it that I wanted to increase my language. And there's one word that I've always really enjoyed. The word is silly. When my kids were young, it was great because it was a silly time. When you're around young kids, they're immature. And, here I am, this adult, and I'm trying to be serious, and I got a serious job, and I have to take care of my family and those types of things. When you have a kid around and they're not mature and they're looking at the world differently than you are, because they're not stuck in a job. They didn't have to grow up. In a way, I think all of us go through Peter Pan syndrome, where I'm a teenager and I have to move forward with my life, and I have to get out underneath the umbrella of my parents, and I don't want to. I'm happy here. It's comfortable here. Going out into the real world's dangerous and uncomfortable, and I have to learn things, and I have to grow, and I don't know if I'm ready to. I don't know if I'll ever be able to grow. I don't know if I'll ever be strong enough. I don't know if I'll ever know enough. I don't know how to control my emotions. All those things, all those great Gloria Omnia things. But that word's silly. That was me playing with my kids. I was this adult, and maybe still a little Peter Pan in me that didn't want to grow up. And maybe everybody goes through that a bit, but that word silly was an interesting one, because we kind of dug into that word, because in setting up these podcasts, I read the Psalms every day, and talking to AI about the Psalms and my perspective on it and other people's perspectives on it, hopefully the biblical perspective on it. You start playing with words and concepts, and one of them that's been coming across me a lot lately is the concept of being childish, where you should be an adult. Me with a young family, me with young kids and a wife that I need help and provide for, that kind of thing. It would be childish of me to be Peter Pan and to go to Neverland and not take care of my wife and my kids. It'd be childish. But then there's another concept biblically, that adults should not lose a childlike sense of their lives. You should always be immature in a way. You should always be humble and understanding that there's still more for you to learn, that you can continue to grow. When I was a young father, I didn't know everything the way that I do now. I still grew even though I had a young kid, it wasn't like I was all prepared to raise that young kid fully. I mean, I still grew more, and teaching them made me grow more. And so there is a childlikeness. That's the way that it's used. And we're going to get to the whole concept of childish and childlikeness and more in a minute. But that's the kind of the path that I got to get to talk about this, to get another little podcast out while the ice storm is raging and I got to do some overtime work. But in playing around with this word, I dropped in the word silly because there is a childlikeness in the concept of being silly. To be able to, on the one hand, kids are a little less afraid of being goofy. They see something neat and they want to be a part of it, so they grab it and they stick it in their mouth if they're real young, or if they're just still young enough where mostly what they do is play. They grab life and they just enjoy it. They grab it whether it's smart to do or not. Oh, look, a knife. And that's why there are parents around, is that because they can help them to mature. No, you don't want to play with the knife. There's a certain way to use a knife. But I guess that knife is kind of a neat thing. I just handed that, and it was handed that right now. But as we grow up and we do get mature, there is that point in our lives where, like the whole Peter Pan story, you have to grow up. Wendy had to grow up, and Wendy didn't know if she wanted to grow up. And there's this Peter Pan story in the tale where Peter Pan didn't grow up. Peter Pan went to Neverland, and you didn't have to grow up. And it would have been silly for me as a young father to have gone to Neverland having a wife and kids. It would have been silly. There's two sides to the word silly, and that was what was kind of neat about the word and why I'm kind of spending time playing with it with you. Silly is, in talking to AI, it was interesting because silly is an ambiguous word. It has a couple of different meanings. It's kind of like the word proud. You can be proud and you're arrogant, and you can be proud and you're just properly acknowledging something that you did. Or you can be properly proud of your children when they do something they should do. They grew up. They got a job and they're doing good at it, or those types of things. They did a good job and cleaned their room. They got an A on their test. Those types of things. But proud can be also arrogant. Silly is the same kind of thing, where you can be silly and you can be young and free and attack life without that fear. And there's a silliness we're all supposed to have. The Bible even talks about it, that if you're not humble enough to know that you can still learn from God, if you're not humble enough to know that you can attack life in a way, you can jump right into some things and have that where you haven't been beat down by life, you haven't, the fear has taken control of you, where you're still young enough to go, why would I be afraid? Let's keep going. You got that kidness still left in you where you're going to move forward anyway. And so I asked it because the word childish and the word childlike, it's the same word. It's playing around with words. People use those two words to distinguish between the father giving up on his wife and kids, running away from his responsibilities. Abdicating was a term I used in the Golden Ale podcast this week. When you're abdicating, that's being childish. But there's more. We're going to get to another word, because being childlike and childish, they're the same word, really. It's childlike, childish, it's the same thing. But we use those words to distinguish between those, and it's not a real proper use of those words. So I wanted better words. And the words that it came up with, I think it's pretty good, and we could get into it in more depth. But to no longer be childish is mature. So when I'm a young parent and I have to raise my kids and be a provider for my wife, you are mature when you take that up, when you don't abdicate. It's to be mature, and that's to not be childish. And at the same time, we want to keep alive that childlike thing, but that word's kind of, so it's to not be foolish. It's to not be stupid. It would be stupid. It'd be foolish to not take up your role, to not grab your mind and your heart and your will. And when you're 20 something years old and you have a wife and you have kids, you don't be foolish. You grab life. So I got some more podcasts coming. I've been working on another one. They're coming out. One of them's coming out next week, a new Golden Ale episode. I wanted to get this one out this week, just something fun to play with. This kind of hints at what's coming with the next Golden Ale, or the next Gloria Omnia podcast. That's coming next week. So I hope you enjoy this Gloria Omnia. Grab the glory underneath all this. There's a childlikeness. There's a not foolishness, and a bit of immaturity is another one of those words that goes both ways. There's a silliness you can still have inside you, because there's still room to grow. There's still room to have awe and to find new things that drive us. So I hope you have a great week. Carpe.